Hey guys, another weekend of European soccer is coming up, and I've got a ton of bets, 4 parlays with 3 games in each. So let's get into it. We went 1-1 last week, coming up just 1 goal shy in the Reims and Lorient game of going 2-0. That leaves these European soccer bets on the weekend at 14-5 on the year. Now, if you want to follow along all season long, give this video a like and click that subscribe button down below. It helps the analytics of the channel, and we'll let you know as soon as new picks get posted. So let's get started. I'm doing the first parlay in the Bundesliga, starting off with Hoffenheim and Leverkusen. In the 2 meetings last year between these teams, the scores were 3-0 Hoffenheim and 3-1 Bayer Leverkusen, both teams winning on the road. The year prior, it was 2-2 and 4-2 for Leverkusen. This year, both have been cashing over tickets like clockwork all season long. Leverkusen are 9-0 to over 2.5, while Hoffenheim is 8-1. The average goals per match for Hoffenheim have been 4.0, while it's 3.9 for Leverkusen. Hoffenheim have scored in all 9 games, but they've conceded in 8 of 9 as well. Naturally, that means both teams to score bets have gone 8-1, but both teams to score in over 2.5 is also 8-1, and that's hit in each of their past 4 games. Leverkusen are leading the entire Bundesliga, and they have yet to lose a game. Yet, they too have scored in every game, plus they've scored multiple goals in all 9 games as well. Both teams to score bets are 6-3, so too is both teams to score in over 2.5. Now, both teams are top 5 in XG, while Leverkusen are 3rd in XGA. Hoffenheim are way down in 14th. Hoffenheim actually gives up a ton of shots, with only Darmstadt, Gladbach, Heidenheim, and Bochum allowing more. This could probably easily be a both teams to score in over 2.5. But to kick off the parlay, we'll simply ask for both teams to score. Moving along, go to Dortmund and Bayern Munich. Their Klassiker features both teams still undefeated heading into week 10, with Bayern 7-2-0 with 23 points. They've scored 34 goals, allowed just 7. Dortmund being 6-3-0, 21 points. They've scored 20, and they've allowed 11. Last year, the teams drew 2-2 in Dortmund, and Bayern won 4-2 in Munich. Somehow, some way, there's just always goals when these teams play. Both teams to score in over 2.5. It's on an 8-0 run between these teams. There's been 4 more goals in all 8 of those games as well, so not just 3, 4. There's been 2 or more goals in 18 of the last 19 meetings. There's also been 4 more goals in 17 of the past 19. Dortmund's only loss in their past 28 Bundesliga games came to Bayern 4-2 back in April. They've scored in all 28 of those games as well. Bayern have dropped a few games, 4 in their past 36, but they have scored in every one of them as well. This should be a both teams to score, or both teams scoring over 2.5. There's a small chance, maybe in my mind, I see maybe a Bayern Munich, 2-0. So I'm just going to stick with the theme of these safe bets and go over 1.5 for the parlay. Let's round out this parlay with Mainz and Leipzig. Mainz have been awful this season. They're 0-3-6. They're at the bottom of the table with 3 points, and they've been outscored 24-9. Only Darmstadt, with 30 goals allowed, have conceded more goals. Last year, Mainz won 3-0 on the road, and there was a 1-1 home draw. But the Carnival Club has actually had some success against Leipzig of late. They're now 3-1-1 in their past 5. That may be hard to continue, though, versus this year's Leipzig team, who are 6-2-1, 5th, and who have scored 25 and only allowed 7. Mainz is riding a streak of 14 games winless in the Bundesliga, while allowing multiple goals in 13 of those 14. They've allowed at least 1 goal as well in 17 straight, and Leipzig have scored in 14 straight and multiple goals in 10 of those 14. Let's just go Leipzig to score with over 1.5 in Dortmund and Munich, and both teams to score in Hoffenheim and Leverkusen for minus 134 odds for that first parlay. This next parlay comes from the Premier League, spread out over Saturday and Sunday. I'm not doing anything special here, simply betting against 3 of the bottom 5 teams that have a combined 4 wins in 30 games. We'll package this together to get not great, but acceptable in my eyes, minus 141 odds. Got that over at Caesars. Starting with Man City and Bournemouth. City are huge minus 1,000 favorites to win outright. You can shorten that a little bit to minus 600 if you take them to simply score over 1.5 goals. It's something they've done in 8 of 10 games this season. They failed to do so in Arsenal and home to Newcastle. Those are much better defensive teams than Bournemouth, who are at 1-3-6. They've been outscored 21-8, and they've allowed multiple goals in 7 of 10 games. Last week's 2-1 win over Burnley was their first win in 13 EPL games. The last 5 games between these teams have been City wins by scores of 4-1, 4-0, 2-1, 2-1, and 3-1. Let's go City over 1.5. Next leg, it's Forest and Villa. Villa have more goals than any team in the EPL. They and Newcastle are tied with 26. That's more than Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, all the big boys. Now, 20 of those 26 have come at home, and they've been outscored 10-6 on the road. That's why we're just going to ask them to score 1 goal here, something they've done in 4 or 5 on the road this season, only getting shut out 3-0 in Liverpool. That Liverpool loss is the only time Villa have failed to score in their past 19 games, home or away across all competitions, and only the 3rd time in the past 40 games. Forest, they're not getting blown out. They're 2-4-4, but they have allowed 15 goals in 10 games. They have allowed at least 1 goal in 8 of 10, allowing 3 to Liverpool last game, and 2 to newcomers Luton, even playing at home the game prior to that. Last year's scores were 2-0 Villa and 1-1. In the last 10 meetings in the EPL or the Championship, albeit going back several years, Villa have never failed to score versus Forest. Let's go Villa to score 1 goal. We'll round it out with Luton and Liverpool. It's not been a great return to life in the EPL for Luton, who are 1-2-7, and they've been outscored 20-7. They have the 3rd worst XGA. They've allowed the 5th most shots on target, 5th most shots, and 6th most shots on target in the league. Liverpool's only loss came on the road to Tottenham. They're 7-2-1. They've scored 23. They've allowed 9, and that Tottenham loss is their only EPL loss in their past 21 games. Liverpool scored multiple goals in 8 of 9, and they don't have Europa League action until Thursday versus a very beatable Toulouse side, so we should get a well-focused team ready to keep rolling this weekend. Let's go Liverpool to beat Luton Town. So Liverpool win, Aston Villa to score, and Man City over 1.5 coming in at -141 for parlay number 2. This 3rd parlay is going to come from La Liga. I don't often bet a lot of La Liga. It's a more low-scoring league, and there just aren't many good offensive or really bad defensive teams, in my opinion, to target. But looking at some teams this year, I see 14 of 20 teams that are both scoring and allowing an average of 1 goal per game, which is exactly what I like to see for these bets. Some of those teams are Osasuna and Girona. Last year in the Liga, the scores were 2-1 Osasuna at home and 1-1 Girona. This year, Girona games have seen the 3rd most goals per match at 3.5, while Osasuna is much lower at 2.5. It's still at least over 2. Osasuna is 10-1 to over 1.5. Girona is 8-3. Girona has a 3rd highest XG at 18.3. They're 5th in attacking third touches and 3rd in penalty area touches. In all competitions, Girona has scored in 19 of 20 games, only failing to do so in a 3-0 home loss to Real Madrid. Other than a 0-0 draw with Sevilla, Osasuna in all competitions, including Conference League, are 12-1 to over 1.5. I think we easily see over 1.5 goals here. Maybe both teams to score as well. Betis and Mallorca will be the next one. Betis are in good form. They're 4-5-2 in all competitions, the Europa League included. They are undefeated in 8 games. They've also scored in all 8 of those games as well. Mallorca are not in good form at 1-6-4. They're winless in 6 on the road. They're away from the island. They've conceded a goal in 16 of 18. Last year, Betis won 1-0 and 2-1. Betis has scored in 8 straight games versus Mallorca. I think they probably win this game. If you're looking for a straight bet, certainly they should get at least 1 goal for this parlay. And finally, we'll round out with Valencia and Granada. Valencia are sitting mid-pack in 9th. They're 4-3-4. They're undefeated in 3 games. They've scored 14 goals in those 11 games, and they have found the back of the net in 4 of 5 at home. But much of this handicap comes from just how bad Granada have been. They've allowed almost 3 goals per game, and with 28 goals allowed in just 11 games. It's not even just a few lopsided results either. Granada have allowed multiple goals in 4 straight and also in 9 of 11 games. They've allowed the 3rd most shots on target. They have the worst XGA of 23.3, which is far worse than Almeria's 18.7, even though Almeria have the 2nd worst XGA, and Almeria are 20th in the table, and they've allowed more goals than Granada, but that XGA of Granada is still far worse. This should be a Valencia win if you want a straight bet, but definitely a Valencia goal, which is what I'm picking. Valencia to score, Betis to score, over 1.5 with Osasuna and Girona. That comes in at -107. And last but not least, one more parlay coming from Ligue and the Bundesliga, spread out over Saturday and Sunday, starting with Nantes and Reims. Before last week's 1-0 win over Lorient, Reims games had seen 2 or more goals in each of their previous 9. Them scoring, though, means they've scored in all 10 games. The 19 goals Nantes have allowed are the 2nd most in the league, but they're still 7th overall at 4-2-4, and they have scored 16 goals themselves. They lost 4-0 last week, just the 2nd time in 10 games they failed to score this season. They've conceded in 8 of 10, though, as well. Both teams are 9-1 to over 1.5 totals. We'll go back to the well one more time here with Reims games going over 1.5 despite that loss last week. I think we should easily see at least 2 goals in this game, over 1.5 for the bet. Next up, it's Monaco and Brest. Monaco lost last week, just their 2nd defeat on the year, but that was on the road. At home, they have the best home record at 4-0-1, scoring 11 and allowing just 4. They've scored in 4 of those 5. Only failing to score versus Nice, which is the league's top defense. Overall, Monaco have scored in 8 of 10, while their opponents, Brest, are off to a decent start at 4-3-3. They are winless in 4. They've conceded in 7 of 10 and in 4 of 5 on the road, with only a 0-0 draw, also with Nice being the outlier. There, Monaco at home against this Brest team that usually concedes should at least get a goal. Let's round it out in the Bundesliga with Heidenheim and Stuttgart. Stuttgart games average 4.2 goals per match, while Heidenheim is averaging 3.9. Stuttgart are 8-1 to over 2.5. Heidenheim is 6-3 to just over 1.5 total, so 2 or more goals. Stuttgart is 9-0. Heidenheim is 8-1. After Bayern, Stuttgart are tied with Leverkusen for the most goals in the Bundesliga with 27. They lost last week 3-2, but it was another wide open 3-2 result. Stuttgart, despite missing their top scorer, Rossi, with injury, continued their run of not only scoring, but scoring multiple goals in every game this season. And while Heidenheim has allowed the 4th most goals in the league, they still have 13 goals for themselves in 9 games, where they've scored in 7 of those 9 games and in all 4 of their home games. This is likely an over 2.5, maybe a both teams to score an over 2.5, or even a Stuttgart win if you are looking for some good single bets. But that's not how I like to do these parlays. I like to keep this nice and easy. I think we definitely see at least 2 goals. So we'll go over 1.5. Making this parlay, Heidenheim and Stuttgart over 1.5. Monaco to score, Nantes and Reims over 1.5. Coming in at minus 125 odds. So that's it. 12 games split up into 4 3-game parlays, all between minus 107 and minus 141 odds. Do you agree with these picks? Do you disagree? Are there other games that you liked, that you have picks from in some of the other leagues? Make sure you drop those picks in the comment section below. Hit that like button, and best of luck with all of your European soccer bets this weekend.